Every life has a soundtrack. Join me as we invite guests to share their journey through music, one song at a time. 10 moments, 10 memories. I'm your host, Sean, and welcome to 10 Tracks.
Are you ready?
Welcome to 10 Tracks. My guest today is Willie Thornton. Willie's the founder of Backwoods Productions, and the creator of the podcast Soul Impact, How Music Saved Us. It's a series dedicated to exploring how music heals, inspires, and transforms lives. Willie was born in Florida, but moved and was raised in a small town in Missouri. Willie built his production company from humble beginnings, hosting DJ and karaoke nights that grew into a full creative platform centered on connection and healing. Willie, welcome to 10 Tracks.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
No, it's great to have you, and I appreciate you joining us and sharing your 10 songs with us. Where are you today?
Where am I today? What do you mean?
Where are you physically in the world today?
Oh, I didn't know if you meant like mentally or something. I'm like, no. I'm in Salem, Missouri. It's a very small town in Missouri.
Now, I tried to do some research. There's like almost 4,500 people total, 46?
Something like that. I mean, it's not a very big town.
Okay.
But the town I was raised in was even smaller. It was a town of 399 people.
What was it like growing up in in this part of Missouri, as well as how connecting with community and just like, kind of creating your storytelling from this?
Well, honestly, growing up in the rural community that I grew up in, I hated it.
Okay.
As a kid, because if I did something, obviously my mother was gonna know, and I would get in trouble because
Yeah.
I would skip school, and this is a true story. I would skip school, and I would tell my mom we lived a mile and a half from school, and we used to walk all the time. Sometimes we'd ride the bus, and I'd tell my mom, "I'm walking to school today." Well, I never went to school.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, my mom's calling, and I'm ignoring her. I'm like, "I'm in school, Mom." I think I was like 14, 15, something like that. And she's like, "No, you're not. Someone said they've seen you." She would never tell. I thought so I hated it. I really did, because everybody was in your business.
Yeah.
Well, then actually that kind of inspired the podcast a little bit, because, that's a rural community a lot of bigger cities lack. Because a lot of rural communities, there's not a whole lot going on. So you got more connections and real people. And I realized that as an adult. I hated it as a kid, but as an adult, that connections that formed in the rural communities almost are what the bigger cities lack, because they're so busy and everybody's going a million miles an hour that they don't get to enjoy life.
Yeah.
In rural communities, you can lay out and lay out in the country. I lived in, we had a big farm right behind us. I could lay out in our yard and look at the stars and enjoy that. And a lot of times you don't get that in the bigger cities, and because you look up and you see the smut from the pollution and stuff, and you can't see the clouds because of all the light, or the stars because of all the lights.
Yeah, I know what it's like to the town I live in now in France is probably about 10,000 people. So it's fairly small, but it's connected to a lot of other villages around here. So it doesn't seem like it's small, but when you get to know some of the people in some of the supermarkets and the stores that you go to regularly, you do get to, have a connection with them. I did live in a place in England outside of London. It was about an hour outside of London. And that was maybe that was 10,000 people as well. At the time, we had a Doberman. He's now passed, and we were probably the only foreigners living in this village. There wasn't many. It was mostly all British people, and so at the while they kind of got to know us as being the uh, the people, the Americans with the Doberman. So you get sort of a name somehow in there.
Oh,
Um,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, please.
Oh yeah, and I get that, especially now because like I do everything I'm doing because I use my business from the very beginning. I give back to the community. I'm very involved in my local community. I do. Um, there's Hero Marathons. It's a marathon they do to raise money for the veterans that run from Salem, Missouri to Rolla, Missouri. And every year I donate my business to DJ the end event. Uh, I give back to the community. I do the toy. They do a big toy drive over here, and I use my business to do that. And I'm not saying this to give myself like a pat on the back, but it's just I'm using it to show how important I feel community is because no matter what you're doing, whether if you're a podcaster, an artist, uh, a teacher, a painter, a construction worker, whatever it is, your local community is what helps you grow, because if your local community isn't investing in you, how can you expect someone halfway across the world to invest
Yeah.
in?
Tell me
And
about Backwoods Productions.
well, Backwoods Production, it's a DJ karaoke business. Like I said, and actually how I got into it is growing up, there was a friend of our family. His name was Big Lee. Um,
Okay.
and no, it wasn't an oxymoron, one of them Big Lee, and he's a tiny feller. He was a big guy.
Big Lee was
But
big.
yes, and he was a DJ and a karaoke guy, and the way he worked the crowd, it's like, man, I want a little bit of that. Well, then over the years, you forget about things. Well, then I went to a friend of mine's wedding, and fast forward a bunch. Um, it was there a little bit, like I want to do this, I want to do this, but I was working 75 hours a week, didn't have time. Well, I had gotten in a car accident, and I wasn't able to work anymore because my back was so bad at the time that I could go to work one day and be in bed for a week. I was that bad off. And um, I used that opportunity to pursue the Backwoods production, and it took off. I mean, now I have my moments where winter times are hard, obviously, because you don't have a lot of outdoor parties. And in the area I'm in, there's not a whole lot of indoor places to have it. Um, but I got into it. Another reason why, the main reason I started that, went to a friend of mine's wedding, and they charged a guy charged him like $1,200 to come to Salem to DJ a wedding. And I was like, dude, that's outrageous.
Wow.
And I was like, how can everyday people afford that? And in my rural area, if you're within my rural area, I do $150 or $175 for 4 hours. You know,
Wow.
so I'm not in it to make a million. I mean, so I use that to bring people in and connect. Music is always, from DJing, you see the people that come in and they feel like they got they look like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders when they come in. And give me just a second. I just realized it was kind of dark. You turned yours on and made me notice it. But
Let
um
there be light.
but I noticed it, and you see people that when you play these songs like Cha Cha Slide and the Cupid Shuffle, which they're good songs, they're not songs that inspire me, but you see the smile on people's faces. That you have two group of people in that conversation. You have the group that is smiling because they're up dancing, or the group that are smiling and laughing at the people dancing.
Yeah.
Regardless, you have the people that is impacted, and it's pulling them out of whatever they're dealing with. So, and then I talked to a buddy, and they're like, you really should do this, because I told him about my podcast I do, and I was like, well, I met him at one of the festivals I did. His name's Bubba Starks. He's been a huge mentor for me in the podcast world, and he's been able to guide me along my way a little bit, and been able to help me, broaden my horizon, so to speak.
Well, you obviously music is a big part of your podcast, and it's the foundation of my podcast as well. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing you share your 10 tracks with us. Let's get started with track one. This is Rascal Flatts, What Hurts the Most.
Yes. Honestly, and that song is not an original Rascal Flatts song. I believe it was done, and don't quote me on it 100%, but it originally was done by Mark Willis.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his name.
In 2003.
Yes. Yes. So it is not their original song, but when they performed it, they put so much heart into it. And I loved it when I first heard it for the very first time from Rascal Flatts. And then it just connected me to a whole different world. Well, then I love the song, that the message that the song has. Well, then when I went through my divorce 3 years ago, it resonated completely different, because it talks about the heartbreak that they had and how they had to overcome it. I had to watch my ex-wife just walk away after 10 years when I had so much to say, just like the song says, and so
Yeah.
that song just helped resonate with everything going on.
And I have my fireplace thing too, so.
It's definitely I mean, you've got a lot of heavy hitters in here, the songs and the lyrics that you've selected, but this version, I guess it's quite a strong. I think they've taken their version, they made it their own kind of.
Oh yeah, you can see that they relate to the song, like that the heart they put into it. You can tell they related to the song.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like you said, they took it. And I love when an artist takes a song that and makes it their own 100%. And sometimes they lack in that department because they don't take that. You can tell when someone just records somebody else's words, and you can tell when that song actually truly means something to them.
You got your start. You moved into kind of storytelling, and you're also a father. So you got your personal life, your family life, and your business life. Juggling all three of those. How do you manage that?
It's not easy. It is not easy at all. And I've had to learn that I take days to do this. Like, I have days off that I don't do anything podcast related. And I have days that I work. I do home health. So I have days that I work in the home health, and I dedicate them days to that day, and dedicate times to where
That's all that's in there at the 10.
I'm a dad,
You and Amanda.
I've had to learn the balance, and that's where I'm grateful for my divorce, is because I had to learn that balance early on. I had to rewrite it early on, learn it early on, because I did lose that support person. I didn't have, I have family, and I'm grateful that I have family. But as a parent, I didn't have that, okay, tag, you're it. I need 5 minutes.
Right.
What you should put these, but either way.
Let's jump into track two.
And I did that yesterday.
This is Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror.
That one probably hit the most when through my divorce, because and a lot of my songs are geared toward that hard time I went through.
Mm-hmm.
My relationship was so toxic in my marriage that I didn't like who I had become, and I was angry and mad, and I just didn't like who I was in my when I come out of my divorce, and I didn't know who I was anymore. Like my marriage had pulled me so far from the original person that I was that, you know, even my family said that I wasn't the same that the loving guy that they knew prior.
Yeah.
And, you know, and in that song, he talks about if you want to make the change, you know, not to quote the song, but, you know, you basically have to start with yourself. And
Yeah.
that is the song. And I spent, you know, I'm country to the core. I was raised on outlaw country and Waylon Jennings, Conway, all Loretta Lynn, Dolly, I could go on.
Hmm.
And, but that song, it resonated with me because it slowly started helping me find out who I was again. You know, it gave me the courage to pick up line dancing and doing that kind of stuff. And
When did you realize music was something that was more than just, you know, something you liked or something that, you know, maybe part of work, but where it really started to kind of feel like it was a healing for you?
I thought you did when you were making
Mm.
the phone.
well, music would probably be, I knew at an early age because I dealt with a lot of child abuse and verbal abuse from my stepdad. We, my first memory from my real dad was at an early age. I was like 3, and I remember sitting hours for having glass from a windshield pulled out of my knee, and he put um through one of them red mason bricks through the windshield of our car.
Hmm.
So that's my first memory of him. And then with my everything I went through with my stepdad, I had to learn an outlet and how to express that. And I I got involved in football, and then the run out tracks, the come out tracks, you know, that they walk out to. I'm like, man, I like how this song makes me feel. And so I would start looking into, you know, in that time it was a little harder. You couldn't just Google, hey, give me songs about this. You
Yeah.
know, it was a whole lot harder. So that put me on a wide range, and I realized, hey, this song, I relate to this song. So music at an early age, I think I was like 13, 12, 13. I realized how music could help me heal through and learn to deal with the emotions better than walking up to someone and punching them in the face.
Right.
Um, so music has just been that thing that kept me grounded. You know, even when I went through my divorce, I never quit DJing. Um, I never quit anything I did. Um, April of this year, I broke my arm in 4 different places above the elbow. I still DJ'd through that. You know,
Okay.
yeah, got a nice little star out of it. Um,
Cool.
so music kept me grounded through that, and I dealt with nerve damage for 3 months. I couldn't move my hand past this, like my wrist. So it kept me grounded.
Let's get
And
to, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that's the biggest impact music has, is it helps me heal through the songs. And you know, you hear songs, and I'm one of them people that if I'm mad, I listen to a mad song. If I'm happy, I listen to a happy song. Whatever emotions, I use music to help me through the 5 stages of grief when I went through my divorce.
Hmm. Do you think that sometimes, although it might seem like a sad song, there's some kind of spirituality or, you know, some kind of building up from it, where it's not just a sad song? There's, you know, something that can uplift you.
I guess really it all depends on what the song is and how it is. Like, you know, I do listen to some happy songs when I'm happy or sad, but for the most part, I like to listen to them sad songs that channel how to deal with that I can relate to, because I find more healing listening to the songs, you know, like, and I'm gonna kind of lose this to transition into my third song, if that's okay.
Perfect.
Um, but the songs like "Goodbye Times," the original version by Conway Twitty, um, a song, you know, and in that song it talks about the hardest thing to do was to let go, and he had to realize that at the end of the day, that relationship wasn't healthy. You
Mhm.
know, he cherished the good times, but at that point, walking away was the only answer. Now, sometimes that truth can be very hard to deal with. That, but it gives that song, gives it a voice. That
Yeah.
it's okay to walk away from them hard times, and that gives a lot of comfort too, because you're able to let go of everything, and that was a song that started pulling me out of my funk and started making me happy, because it's not a very happy song, but the message behind it brings you happiness. It's, at a point where in society we often find our joy in other people.
Yeah.
Instead of finding our inner joy, we find our joy from everyday people, like the joy my ex-wife used to bring me. My joy was from that, instead of what makes me happy, and music can help you learn that.
It definitely can be a bridge. This song in particular, you were saying, where sometimes you have to let go of things that are not healthy for you. When your guest, you're talking to them, how often does this resonate with them, where they need to let go of something?
Oh man, every one of my episodes, and like I said, we talked before the interview, I'm like 40 episodes in. And every one of them has talked about how music has helped them move on from addictions. I had one guy I interviewed where he lost his son, and as an infant son,
Wow.
and it helped him pursue his songwriting. And you know and then I've interviewed guys where you know songs resonated with them and it helped them give up addictions. So I would say almost every episode I've ever filmed, there's someone that has had that turning point, with maybe not the songs I have, but with music. you know
Right.
Music is a thing that can let your worries go. If you're sad, it's going to help make you happy. Whether, and I'm not saying there's a right way or wrong way to listen to songs, whether it's like me and you listen to a sad song that helps you heal, or whether you listen to a happy song that helps you get you in a happy mood. But there's therapy that comes from that. You can be a happy person and deal with the garbage that you're going through, because society has almost put this image on us that take everything you're dealing with and just push it down, keep pushing it down, keep pushing it down.
Hmm.
But eventually that trash can is going to overflow, and that trash is going to not have to deal with it. You know, and I'm not saying look and regret on what you're going through, and oh, look what mistakes I made back there. Um,
Yeah.
you're going to have to deal with it.
Do you think it's harder for men to kind of not keep pushing it down?
I think it is because of the society tells us that men don't cry, and that we are basically suck it up kind of philosophy. And you know our upbringing is a big part of that, because we were told, you're crying, let me give you a reason to cry, or you know so I think a lot of that it could be a pride thing, really, because they don't want to let it go, or
Hmm.
they're don't know how to let it go because of what they were told from an early age, that you know and that's where music can actually help with that, because a lot of times people listen to music and they don't realize that they're letting that garbage go.
Yeah. Let's jump into track 4. This is Keith Whitley.
Yes. Now that one, I'm over you. That actually, funny story with that one. I was DJing at a bar and my ex-wife brought her now husband in, and it hurt me hard Well, I had been practicing this song because I've heard rumors that I wasn't over her. So I've been practicing this song to sing on karaoke. And she walked in and
17. Yeah.
she was, I just used it I sung the song. I wasn't ready to sing it yet because I hadn't healed with everything it said. But
Mhm.
I got up there, I gave it my all. And I realized how powerful that song was because my ex-wife got up and everybody laughed. She got up and she walked out when she realized that I was singing the song. And, I probably was fueling the fire a little bit because, I work the crowd when I DJ. So I'm over there pointing at her. So I probably fueled the fire a little bit, but she got mad and stormed off. Everybody started laughing and clapping. Now I realized then, how much power that one song really had.
Yeah. And it's very simple words too, direct and to the point. So
Yeah.
you can't mix the words there.
And his voice at which he sings the voice at which he sings that song too. I mean, he puts so much heart into that song that is, I'm trying to use the right words. I struggle with words sometimes. The way he sings that song, it's like so relatable, and I don't know if you ever heard that song, but in the songs it's titled You've Heard I'm Drinking More Than I Should. Well, and then it goes into more and it talks about um later on in the song, and it really resonated with my relationship with my ex-wife was narcissistic. And it talks about it may seem a little bit cold, but you've lost the hold you have on me.
Mm-hmm.
And to me that resonated because at that moment, I mean, it hurt seeing her with someone else because I wasn't completely over her. But at the same time, it showed her that she didn't have that thumb on me anymore, and I could be who true to who I am, and I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna use it because these two songs go hand in hand. That one and my next one. So I'm gonna, if it's okay, unless you want to do it different, you know,
Let's jump
brings
in.
in bring it into the dance by Garth Brooks, and he talks about, you learn as you go, and you get in there and the song captures how every love, every loss, and every mistake is part of the journey that makes life worth living and makes you who you are. So, for me, and especially on the soul impacted side, songs like that, it reminds that the healing often comes from dealing and erasing the pain. Or sorry, it comes from that's not about right. It does not come from erasing the pain, but it comes from understanding it and dealing
Yeah.
it. Sorry, again, I struggle with my work. So it may have to go back and forth sometimes. But, and I enjoy all the good memories. We have kids together. I love them. Mistakes were made and my older ones don't live with us. And that was something that I had to deal with because, back in 19, we lost them to some abuse charges. And ultimately, I took the fall for something I didn't do because I failed them and I wasn't able to protect them. So it was my fault. So I took the fall for something I didn't do. Spent first time ever in jail in my life. I spent 14 days in jail, and I don't talk about this a whole lot on any podcast I do, but you know, I think it's important to tell my story,
Yeah.
and I'm able to, you know, and that's where songs like my next song has helped heal me along the way because of that, and I am religious and I don't push that on anybody, especially on my podcast. If you want to talk religion, we'll talk religion. But I'm not going to say, hey, this is what I feel and then blah 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 because of the X, Y, and Z. Because for me, a lot of people get defensive when you bring up religion. So it's not that I'm ashamed of my religion, but I respect other people's choices.
Yeah. I think it's people have a right to choose what they want to do and what they believe. And I think that there's, it's absolutely a personal thing. It's and how and how that makes you a stronger person and a better person. So
No, absolutely. Like, and on, music, I now use my music. I do a men's group on every Thursday night. I now use my DJ equipment to run sound. It's a religious based group. I now use my DJ equipment to run sound for this men's group. And you get to a point in your life where you're like, I'm at rock bottom. This is just where I'm meant to be. Everybody goes through that, rock bottom, I'm stuck. And society has made it where it's so easy to play the victim card. Now, I'm not going to say I was in rock bottom all on my own fault. Did I play a role in that? Yeah, but my toxic marriage played a role in that too. Now, so other people can impact your rock bottom. And that's where a lot of people struggle is they say, oh, poor, woe me. I'm here because of somebody else. No, my marriage failed. Did I make mistakes? Absolutely. Did she make mistakes? Absolutely. Do I own mine? 100%. Were there times that I could have been a better husband? Yes. Were there times where I could have been a better dad? Absolutely. But you learn from those. I don't see me getting married in the foreseeable future. And I make this joke, and it is a little religious joke, but I tell everybody, if God wants me to get married again, he's going to have to slap me in the face with it. Because I don't want that at the moment in my life.
right.
I want to focus on everything I'm doing because there's so much power in it, and honestly, I love getting people on my podcast and them telling their stories, and I'm sure you feel the same way that by the time you get done doing an episode, you feel a connection with people and you want to stay connected to people. Like, through my podcast, there's a guy named Dalton Jones. I met him off TikTok. Went to his live. He was playing music on his live and we started talking. And I was like, well, hey, dude, I have a podcast. I'd love to have you on it. Next thing I know, he comes on my podcast and a friendship has formed. And I actually got the privilege of submitting his song to a local radio station from Missouri. He's from Alabama. And I've actually got the privilege of playing his music, getting his music to play on a local radio station that I have a connection. So to me, my show isn't just about the healing part. I mean, that is so important. But to me, it's also about the connection, getting a deeper community.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be more than just, if you're in it for the wrong reason, don't get me wrong. I would love my podcast to be monetized, making me $1 million. I would love for all that to happen. Sit at home and do a podcast all day, not have to work. I would love it. But if I never get to that point, I'm okay. And I don't care about views. And I know that sounds horrible as a podcaster, because if I get one person that tunes into my podcast that can heal from what they heard, to me, I'm doing what I need to be doing.
You're doing your job.
Exactly. I mean, I don't care, where that song goes or what happens in that episode. I do keep, when we talk, I do keep politics separate, because I feel there's enough people doing that garbage. I don't want that on mine. And
that's not part of healing either.
No, that actually can cause more issues for people when you start cramming your beliefs down somebody's face. You think of it as a teenager, okay? We're all been that teenager, and our parents tell us we can't do something, but we really want to do it anyway. and they're saying, no, you can't do it, we're going to do it anyways, 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And you think of the simple one, even as an adult still today, don't look. What's the first thing you do? So, I mean, there's a natural rebellion in everybody. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
so if you're forced, and I'm very proud of my faith, I really am, but I'm not going to force that on somebody else. Now, if someone wants to engage in a conversation, yeah, let's have it. But if that conversation go there, the podcast isn't about what I believe or how I feel about this. And I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, but it's about, especially on mine. It's about, if you were a guest, it's about getting your story. It's about
Mm-hmm.
so, and there's power in that, and that kind of leads me to my next song, which is I Was Made for More by Josh Baldwin.
That's
That
a
ties
perfect
my,
title.
yeah, it's a religious song and I love it. For me, it ties my faith into what I'm doing. Um, because I can be inspirational and I can help people kick addictions and I can be a tool. That sounded horrible. I can be a resource. Let's say it that way. I can be a resource that someone comes to when they're struggling with their mental health or they're struggling kicking addiction because of my episodes and the realness of my episodes. So, yes, that song is spiritual and it talks about how God created us for more. You don't believe in religion or God, great. No matter the religion, and I'm noticing this across the board because I did go to school and I studied a lot, that the morals of most religions are the same. There's good, there's bad, there's right, there's wrong. And our problem with society today is we have gone away from the black and white, and now it's black, gray, white. And there's more of the gray nowadays than there is the black and white. And if we would go back to the right is right, wrong is wrong, and in my opinion, I think us as a community would be better off because, but you can't do that if you're living in that victimized um, philosophy or mindset. You can't say right is right, wrong is wrong if you're saying, okay, and I'm using you because we're talking, but Sean done me wrong, so now I'm the victim, and the only thing I can do is get even.
Mm-hmm.
Then that clouds everything. So we've got to get back, and this is what I had to get back to, because I was that victim in my marriage that was physically abused. I was that victim in my childhood that got the snot beat out of me way more than I should have. But I said that to say this: if I would stay in them moments and say, I'm a victim for this reason, I'm a victim for that reason, how can I help somebody else? How can I help myself?
Right.
You can't help yourself. And for people that are listening, if you're struggling, the best thing you can do is deal with them issues head on. I had to go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with therapy. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're one of them people that can't go to therapy, find you a person or in a support system that, if you're struggling with an addiction, if you're struggling with becoming a better parent, if you're struggling with being an absent parent, whatever your struggle is, find you a support system that can help encourage you and find you a person that you can say, all right, Sean, today I'm dealing with this. I need your help being real, but you got to be real with that person.
Yeah, for sure. I think you summed it earlier as well. It goes back to community. Whether
Oh,
it is your local community physically where you live, whether it's an online community, whether it's people that you get to know. And I think that's where a lot of times, some religion can come in and is a good thing when they have that community that there when it works. But I think community is an important thing, and I feel like a lot of times these days people aren't, and you don't even know who your community is. You might think, oh, this is my community, it all has to be this color or this sort of team A, and maybe it's not. Maybe the community is a couple of different teams, because we're people, and just like the songs can resonate and have a different meaning or impact the same as you feel it to several other people, they might be a part of a different team, but they still love, there's a connection there, and we
Yeah,
shouldn't
and,
lose that.
you can tie that in music genres too. Believe it or not, when I got into DJing, I wanted to make old country popular again.
Hmm.
I love the heart that's in the old music. I really do. Kenny Rogers, just that genre of music, and not just that, not that genre, that decade of music. I like all music, I really do, but I really love the '80s, '90s, the early 2000s, even some of the
Hmm.
'70s. I mean, I love a wide range of music. I tell everybody I was born in the wrong decade because I'm a very old soul, and I'd rather listen to George Jones and stuff along that nature than stuff nowadays, because, and I don't know if in country, I mean all across the board, because if you look at it, our rock today isn't really rock. Our rock is more heavy metal.
Yeah.
Our country is more country pop. Now we do have some artists out there that is getting back to the country route, but all in all, in my, for instance, Dolly Parton inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, that tells you how much the genres have changed over the last 30 years.
Oh yeah.
So it's ever changing, and, you know, music, it can heal you and it can teach you life lessons. In my marriage, I wasn't a perfect husband. I probably, at times, I could have been more tentative, and, you know, um, I'm going to use that stairway in the next one because I know we're probably running longer than you normally do, but, um, you know, I had to learn, and I learned this in my marriage before it was probably when it was too late. But the song by Kenny Rogers called "Buy Me a Rose,"
Yeah.
and it talks about, my singing is not good. I'm not an artist, but it says, "Buy me a rose, open the door for me. What would it hurt? The truth in your eyes let me know." And it resonates. And
Hmm.
I did before my divorce. Probably we were married 10 years, 12, the other 12. And I did try. I tried really hard to do those. Like, I'm talking last 3 years before, while we were married, I bought her roses, or not roses. She loved sunflowers. I bought her sunflowers every 2 weeks on the dime. As soon as I got paid, no reason, just because. And now to say that song is gonna fix the problems, no. But that song can help open a door for them in a relationship that are struggling. That,
Hmm.
okay, maybe I'm not giving them enough attention, or maybe we got issues we need to work on. And the
But
only
if
way you
you,
can,
I
only
was
way
going
you're
to
going to
ask
deal with
you,
those is by it's dealing with that. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, sorry. I was going to ask you if a lot of the healing comes from the situation. So, for instance, your divorce, if you wouldn't have had that divorce, do you think you would be in the position you are now? Do you think you'd have this podcast? Do you think that you would be helping and working with people, and really trying to support people who are looking to heal?
Honestly, no. Because, for one, how could I help someone when I didn't even know who I was?
Right.
I knew at an early age I had a servant heart. I had a heart that wanted to serve my community. Um, I knew that at like 14 because I did community service, not court ordered or anything, just because. So I knew at an early age that I had that heart that wanted to help serve people. And, you know, I never pictured me having a podcast, being completely honest. Probably within the last 6 months, April of this year, when I got hurt. In fact, I got hurt April 1st of 25. Tell you, April Fool's Day is the worst day to get hurt on.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for me, there's a lot of factors that go into what makes it where I'm helped. I had to heal from the garbage I went through. Some of it on my own fault. Some of it was because I didn't know how to let people go.
Yeah.
I fought very hard for a long time to keep my ex-wife in my life. Now she's still in my life because we have a kid together. But I had to learn at an early age that if you want to go, or not early age, I had to learn later in life that it's okay to, you know, break generational curses. And music helps do that.
Yeah.
Because for me, you know, my mom and stepdad fought all the time. It's what I knew.
Right.
Me and my ex-wife, we fought all the time over stupid crap that we made into huge yelling matches at each other. You know, and there was abuse in it on her end. She got, so all that I had to deal with. You know, I had to learn that in my faith is part of what helped me learn that. You know, and you got to find, no matter where you're at in your life, you got to find your reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you going to keep going? What's going to help you succeed in life? You know, why? Why are you doing the things you're doing? And for me, that why, and I had to learn that why. And not just with my podcast. As a single dad, not knowing what lies ahead of me, I had to learn my why. And I think before you can truly start your healing process, you have to start exploring that why.
Would you
For instance, why do you need to be healed? And your why is ever going to be changing.
also think that for healing you need to forgive? So
Oh,
forgive your ex-wife and forgive yourself?
Oh, absolutely. And often people says, well, what if they don't accept my forgiveness? Your forgiveness isn't for them.
Exactly.
And I have told my ex-wife, and I've had these conversations with my ex-wife. I'm sorry I did the things I did. And she's like, well, I don't forgive you. You know what? Okay. It's more for me than it is her, because if you go around and you carry around all these pent up transgressions that you have, and you think of it as a sponge, okay? One of those yellow and green sponges that you use to do dishes, right? You put this sponge down into a mud puddle. That's a dirty sponge. You pull it out, the sponge is going to be nasty.
Mm-hmm.
You start to wring that garbage out that you dealt with, forgiveness, the pent up anger, and then you start to put it under some new life. So in this situation, the water is our new life. And as that clean water is hitting that, and all that mud's rinsing out, eventually you're going to be a new you. And it's so important that you use that new you, and use that new you to be true to who you are, and I had to learn that, the me that I was 15 years ago when I was 20, I'm never going to be that me again.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm close now, I'm happy being me. I'm happy, but I will never be that me. And this is where people make a lot of mistakes, because like they want what they had in the past. or they look in the past at what they've done. No, you can want the kind of thing you have in the past, but I want better than what I was, because I didn't have the knowledge then that I have now.
Right.
Because, and I want, like, I make a purpose to tell my daughter every day, several times a day, her nickname's Monkey. So I call her Monkey because she climbs on everything. So I say, Monkey, I love you, at random time. And then we talked about not editing my podcast earlier. And I have episodes where she comes up to me, Daddy, I love you, during my episode. And I say, Monkey, I love you too. They say, oh, I'm sorry, Daddy, you're doing a podcast. I said, no, Sissy, it's okay. I love you. Just go play for a little bit. I don't edit any of that out. For one, I want people to see all walks of life. That takes the I can't say the word. Authentic.
On authenticity.
Yes, thank you. It takes. See, I should probably say easier words, but I like people to see me struggle because it makes it real. But anyway, I could edit all that out. I could. I never let her on camera. I will say that, but it shows the realness. It shows people that wherever you're at in your life, whether you're going through a divorce, whether you're a single parent, whether you're starting a new career, giving up addiction, whatever it is, there's no better time to start
Yeah.
And yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
But that segues nicely into track 8, which is Chris Young, The Man I Want to Be.
Yeah, and I mean that song, it's a redemption song. The song at its core is a man looking in the mirror and asking God for a change. And we hit on this earlier about forgiveness. It's about forgiveness, faith, and rebuilding yourself one piece at a time.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this fits my story perfectly, because I've been able to take my past pain and turn it into purpose to help others grow and help me, and there's a saying, talks about the past and who he was. And, for me, there's an old saying a preacher told me a long time ago. It ain't religious at all, but you ever notice the windshield is bigger than the rear view mirror? You want to know why that is. More important about where you're going than where you've been.
Mm-hmm. That's a good saying.
It really is. So you can use them life lessons and you can look back on them and say, okay, here's what I did then. How can I make sure I not make the same mistake? And I'm not saying use that, victimize that, because you got to break that. That's a generational curse people has as well. For me, mine was alcohol, my relationship. I don't know. Just there's so many of them. I could be here all day if I name them all. And music helps break that. For me, I didn't know how to be a dad. And this song ain't on there, but I don't know why I didn't put it on there. So I'm gonna give you a bonus track real quick.
Okay.
There's a song by Conway Twitty. I love Conway Twitty, so I think that's why I didn't put it on there, because I already put one. But it's That's My Job. And in the song, it talks about how it's his job to love the kid unconditionally. And, it tells us, if you're struggling to be a dad and you like country music, look up songs for that. Or if you're struggling to be a dad and there's songs, look up songs. You can Google songs that helps you deal with being a bad parent, songs that helps you deal with addiction, songs that helps you deal with being a better you, whatever the song is, whatever the thing you're struggling with. You can look up that song. And, as someone in recovery, it's hard because there is songs out there that triggers me with the drinking and stuff. So I have to be very careful. But that just goes to show how powerful music can be in every walk of life.
Do you think that a lot of people aren't making the connection between mental health and music?
I think that people don't realize. I think the connection's there, but they don't really realize the power.
The power. Yeah, that's good.
Because, like, and we already talked about the song, but "Man in the Mirror," that was a song that I was fortunate enough to have my brother and my sister-in-law. They would watch my daughter when I went through my divorce if I needed to go through a drive or whatever. They've always been the type that I'll put music on and I would just drive to clear my head. That was the way I escaped. Um, and they come out one time and I'm crying, sobbing, mad, crying, sobbing, sad. And I was listening to the radio station and "Man in the Mirror" come on, and it broke me. I mean, I had heard the songs 1,000 times, and that's just it. People don't realize that just because you hear a song today and you get a message out of that song today, that say the message is hope. 2 weeks down the road, you listen to that song and the message may be how to move forward. So what you get, it's a lot like quotes, and it's a lot like movies and everything else in life. What you get out of it isn't going to be the same tomorrow, the day after, next year, 10 years down the road. That song, every one of my songs, I, has been huge in my life. When I first heard "What Hurt the Most," I love the song. I love the beat of it. So, I mean, it ever changing that music is never going to stop helping you heal. And if you don't resonate with country and you resonate with rock, find you some rock music. If you don't resonate with rock, but you like rap, find what works for you. There's going to be times where people are going to tell you your music sucks. You know what? That's an opinion. You got to be able to say, you know what? Okay, but my music helps me heal. Or, and, even when things are going crappy, and I'm going to use this as stairway into my next song because I think it fits. Even when things are going crappy and you think things aren't going to go your way, there's a song by MercyMe called "Even If." And the song, a lot of people probably ain't familiar with, but the song, in my opinion, it embodies faith through suffering. It doesn't sugarcoat hardship. It speaks of hope. And even when prayers go unanswered, the unwavering trust in God's plan, even when it hurts, is exactly why I am where I am today. And songs like that can help you break that victimizing, and I keep coming back to that because I think that's a stigma society has. Everybody's real good at playing the victim and not wanting to move forward and some of that is, if they're not the victim, they're not the center of attention. So, you have to learn your balance. Music is a tool. Your show can be a resource. My show can be a resource. You've got to find that thing you connect to. If it's not music and it's drawing, then find it. For me, music, and I think music impacts everybody. I really do, just from the DJ side of it. But you got to be able to find that music that helps you. And what helps me may not be what helps you. I mean, I'm pretty sure some of these songs, like we started beforehand, you never even heard of.
For sure.
And I'm sure there's songs on your 10 track that I probably never heard of. But that doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it wrong.
No, I think it's beauty in that. It's great because you're exploring new stuff and you're learning and you're teaching me about why these songs are important to you and what they mean to you. And these songs are, it's not a song about hate. It's not, something so extreme that is, it's a power that has healed you, or that is gives you a special connection. So that's the beauty for me, is learning and meeting people on the podcast, and having guests tell me about these songs, why they're so important to them. And it opens me up to so many new songs, which I
Oh
love.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, me too. Cause like, and what's really cool is like on my show, I ask artists the writing process, the creative process. And I think it's so cool because like 40 episodes in, I've never gotten the same answer.
No.
And same with music. I've asked them what songs has impacted them. Never got the same influence for artists. I've never got the same song, but that just goes to show. We're on the same track. We're podcasters. We're on the same track. Our journey may have started differently, and our middle path may have been different, but our end path of where we're at right now, being podcasters, it's the same. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter where you start, how you get there, how you finish, how you follow through. That's what matters. You're gonna fail in life. That's just the cold, hard truth. But what makes failure failure is when you don't get back up again.
Right.
So, and this, it really did. Like I could say my marriage failed and I'm never going to be happy ever again, blah, blah, blah. But I know differently because that's not me. And my last song, kind of gears towards that. Um,
George Jones.
yeah, He Stopped Loving Her Today by George Jones. In my opinion, I think it's the greatest country song ever. It's a heart-wrenching story of love that's outlived the man himself. It captures the essential devotion and the heartbreak and the loss in the purest form. It's not just about death. It's about a love that's lasting, an imprint of the soul. You know, you can say that goes hand in hand with what I'm doing on Soul Impact. It's the raw, the real, the unforgettable moments. And that song's impactful for me because obviously I'm divorced.
Mhm.
And I love her. I mean, I will always love her. I used to tell her I love you till the day I die. And I mean every word of it. I still to this day I love her. Now, do I want her back? Absolutely not. Because we were toxic for each other. But that song shows me that it's okay to still have that love. It's still say okay to have them moments where the past hurts a little bit. You know,
Sometimes people just come into your life for a special reason or a purpose, and then they leave. And I think you have to understand that, and we have to make peace with that they're not necessarily going to be there uh, as long as we want them to sometimes.
that's pretty close to the reason why I got okay with letting my ex-wife go. Is um, I found it and I did a lot of searching, and it says people are in your life for seasons. So it goes hand in hand with what I was going to actually hit on. So yeah, you're completely right. I love quotes. I really do. I'm a big quote guy. I don't, which is funny because I don't like to read, but I love quotes.
Willie, what's next for on the horizon for you, and what will is do you think that Soul Impact's going to become a movement? What's your plans for this?
I don't know what next, to be honest. I'm just letting it take me where it goes. I would love to see it be like a seminar where people come to and they have artists that come in and they deal with real life situations, and they're people that it be an in-person event and be a relatable thing. I'd love to see it grow into that, something like that. But for me, I don't know where it's heading. And it's not because I'm not prepared for it. It's because you adapt as you go. And I
Hmm.
would love to see it be that movement. But if it's taken a different direction, then it's going to take a different direction. But I can tell you this, through Soul Impact, I have made some amazing connections. I've actually next year, and I'm gonna hit on this a little bit. I'm so lucky to be able to team up with Operation Combating Veteran Suicide, and it's a huge organization out of South Dakota. The lady that founded it, Charlotte Roop, she has a huge heart for veterans. And I have so much respect for it. And I'm able to team up with her through my podcast. And next year in Missouri, we're bringing 2 benefit festivals to Missouri. I'm putting them together. Never in a million years did I think I'd be able to do something like this.
This is for veterans?
Yes. I'm a huge
Excellent.
veteran support person. And I'm a huge veteran advocate. I don't know. I couldn't think of that word a second ago, but it's opening that door. And just to think, all this started from saying, I'm going to start my business.
Yeah.
You know, now, have I had times where I was like, okay, I'm about ready to shut the door on my business because money ain't there and I'm struggling? Yes. But same with my podcast. I've had moments where I was like, okay, the podcast isn't generating anything and I'm paying a lot out.
Mm-hmm.
But I hit on that reason why earlier. That why is going to keep, why are you doing your podcast? Why are you doing this? Why are you being an artist? Why are you being a painter? Why are you being this? You know, why? Once you answer your why, it's going to change for you. Once you have your why, and I'm a firm believer in it, you know, you find that why, and life's going to start turning around. And you can't go to somebody and say, hey, Sean, what's my why? Sean can tell you his, you can tell me your why, but your why isn't going to suit me.
No.
So you got to find it, you know, whether you use music to find it, use people you talk to. Yeah, you can come to me, hey, Sean, I'm struggling on finding my why. How can I help find, what can I do to help find my why? Now, that's a good way to approach the situation. But if you're coming at them where you're immediately wanting them to answer your questions, and I think that's where we also need to break that generational curse, because a lot of people want to have it yellow brick road syndrome, and it's a real syndrome, where they want everything mapped out.
Mm-hmm.
So the best I can do is do my podcast and show people love one episode at a time. You know, I would love to see the thing get huge and be monetized and start paying for itself and making it where I don't have to work and I can get more time with my daughter. I would love for that to be the end goal. If that's not the end goal and I have to work myself to the bone, then I'm going to work myself to the bone. But I can tell you, no matter how much I have to work to pay for the podcast, I'm never going to quit.
What's the best way for people to connect with you?
It would honestly be looking up my personal page on Facebook, Willie Thornton. But if you want to watch my episodes, I'm on everything. Sorry. I'm on everything. I'm on iHeartRadio, Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, you name it, I'm on it. You can actually Google Soul Impact, and it will actually, yeah, I'll show you because it's cool. It's really cool. You can Google Soul Impact, and it'll pull me up. Like, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, I love technology when it's not working right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to show something that's gonna make me out to be a liar. But yeah, you can and I've had articles written about me. I've been on radio stations. You can.
So what is the event that's called that you're going to be doing with the veterans?
The one in May, the date is May 16th,
May 16th. Okay.
2026. And it is, oh boy, what did I name it? Give me a second. I don't remember. I just come up with the name, so I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry. I know the one in um September 19th or 26th is A Voice for Veterans.
A voice of veterans.
And then the one, because I didn't want to name them the same, because I didn't want to get people confused. And then the one in May is called the Honor Rally. I don't know why I couldn't remember that.
The honor
But-
rally.
And there's not both of them. It's going to be a festival. I'm going to have stuff for the families to do. I'm going to have, it's going to start at noon. Music is going to start at 2. I have it all kind of planned out without having it planned out. I'm still early in it though. So, but I'm going to have bands. I have a band. I have a singer coming from Minnesota. And a lot of this, I've used my connection with Soul Impact. I mean, I've reached
Mhm.
out to these artists, and I have a guy that's going to be at the show. He's a Missouri artist. His name's Jamie Smith, and he's a veteran himself. And this all stemmed from him. I did a pre-interview with him. He talked to the phone with me, and we got to talking. And he's like, "I want to use my story to give back." And then I reached out to Charlotte Roop, and I told her I wanted to do something, and she's like, "Go for it." Well, next thing I know, there's 2 of them. And I believe everything happens for a reason. I had reached out to 2 different facilities, and I want to give them a huge shout out. Both of them. One's Captain Jack's, the one in May is going to be at Captain Jack's Campground and RV over in Summersville. And then the other one is Lone Pine Ranch here in Salem, Missouri. And I reached out to both of them, seeing about doing an event there, and they both got back to me about the same time and were available at different times of the year and donated the facilities.
Wow, that's great.
So I was like, well, guessing I'm doing 2 of them because I'm the type of person, not so much that I'm a yes person, but I'm a type of person that when someone wants to do something to help the community, I'm going to do whatever I can to help that person. So who am I to take away from the people that want to give back and say, yeah, use my facility? And ultimately, we talked about this. Music is about a community.
Yeah.
It's about bringing a community together. You know, you think about it. You do benefits, there's music. Funerals, there's music. Weddings, there's music. Birthdays, there's music. You know, no matter everyday life is music. You know, you get in a car, there's music.
I mean, your heartbeat is music, just so you know.
Exactly. Exactly. And actually, it's really cool that you brought it in because we talked about it pre-show. But my introduction or my intro video that I have for my video podcast, it's a song by Bubba Starks called Drifter. And I have it laid in there, and through Canva, I actually laid a heartbeat behind it. So you can actually hear the heartbeat go along with the rhythm of the music. It's actually really cool. I'm like, you know what? And it's ever changing, and I still impress myself sometimes because I'm learning. That was all me. Yeah, I used Canva to do it,
Yeah.
but no way I went into that. You know, you got to find that thing that motivates you. You know, and whether it's no matter where you're at in life, if it's music, be an artist. If it's helping people tell people's story, find a way to do that. If it's writing and telling stories that will motivate somebody, do that. You know, you just got to be the best you can, and don't do it for anybody else. You know, when I quit drinking my first time, I did it because I didn't want my ex-wife to leave. That was my motivation. That motivation works for some. But when I'd been drinking since I was 10 years old, when that struggle's there and it's so deep and a huge line of alcoholics in my family, when that's embedded so deep that if you don't have your own motivation to do something,
Mhm.
you're not going to succeed. You can have all the passion in the world for it, but if you're not motivated and you don't have, have your own motivation, then what's going to keep you going when things get hard?
Yeah.
And for me, music has been that. And that's why I was so eager to, once I talked to my buddy about doing the podcast, he said, I need to just do it. He told me that on a Tuesday. The following Thursday, my episode was filmed and put out on YouTube. And then he's like, you need to, is it moving fast? And then a week later, I was on a radio station. Like I said, and I'm not saying it's all about me because it's not. And I make sure I tell everybody that anyone that has reached out for an interview, I say, you know what? I love that you want to interview me, but my show's not about me. It's about helping people, and that'd probably be my one big thing is Soul Impact. Yeah, I hit on tidbits of my story in the episodes, but ultimately, it's not about me. Now, I'm going to gear the show that make sure conversations don't go the way I don't want them to go. And if there's a lot of vulgar on it, I'm not going to have that, because to me, you go putting motivation in, and cussing every now and then people slip. No big deal. But the moment you start tying a bunch of it in, it loses your motivation, loses the momentum.
Mhm.
We could be on your show and I could be F this, F that. I listened to the song, you just effing made me feel good. Where's the story in that? Where's the realness in it? And so unfortunately there are people that I've learned that I had to vet a little better. And because of that reason and the politic reason, because much like you, I don't put it on my show. Because there's enough of them out there that do. I want,
Yeah.
just like you want it real. I want it real. And that's why when I matched with you on Podmatch, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna reach out. I listened to a couple of your episodes and I was like, I like what he's doing. It's very relatable, you know. And I've been trying to stay caught up, but I probably missed an episode. I probably may have to go back and watch again or listen again.
No,
But
no, appreciate that.
it takes a community, people subscribing to your YouTube, subscribing, and I tell everybody at my end of my show, if you're not following him, go follow him, go follow her, whoever it is, go follow them. Let me say it that way. So no one gets their feelings hurt. If you're not following them, go follow them. But to say what's next for me, you know, I'm just letting God guide me, my faith guide me. And, I've been real fortunate and I get people to start reaching out to me in TikTok. I love TikTok. I have insomnia, so I don't sleep very well sometimes. So I'm able to reach out to these people and deal with the garbage, that I wouldn't be able to deal with otherwise. And I'm able to say, I got a guy that I'm waiting on an email back that I met off Amazon, met off TikTok, that I stumbled across his live. I mean, I've done like 4 interviews with people off TikTok that I've related to.
Mhm.
And with that, that's great because I really don't have to vet them because, well, I brought up Dalton earlier. I spent 4 hours in his live just listening to him play music. So naturally, he kind of vetted himself, you know. So you got to, and this is my advice to a podcaster. You're going to have to say no to people as a guest because not everybody fits what the message you're trying to put out.
Yeah.
I've had to learn that the hard way. But I've also been told no a lot too. Don't let them no's discourage you. You may not be a good fit for somebody else, but there's gonna somebody along the way that, hey, I really resonate with you. You got to find that people. You know, I can't tell you how many cats I've reached out to that shot me down. But you know what? That's okay, because it's me trying. And you got, and if you have the fear of not doing something, look at it this way. You're already not doing it. So, worst case scenario is you're going to fail and not do it. Or worst case scenario, someone's going to tell you no. So you got to just, not to rip off Nike, but just do it. If you're going to, and thinking about changing a career, whatever it is, starting your own business, obviously do your research. But once you've done your research, just do it. Because if we don't have that mentality where we're going to do something ourselves, and I mean, I'm sure you can relate. If you would have just had the ideal to do a show, and then that ideal sat there, or idea, however it's said. But anyway, you wouldn't be where you are today. I wouldn't be where I was today if I wouldn't. It took some encouraging, yeah, but ultimately it was my choice. Take the leap. And for those that are struggling mentally, because it's mental health is important, you're not alone.
No,
And if
for sure not.
you're at the end of the rope, remember, you win if you don't quit. And I hit on this earlier, but find that person. If you feel yourself going down that dark road and you've been there before, get help before it goes there.
And I think mental health is so big now that it impacts everybody. You can't just say, "Oh, this was only impacting certain people or certain people that maybe like in one sector or veterans or something." I think it's crossing over so much now that almost everybody has been impacted with somebody in their life or somebody that they're close to with mental health issues. So it's an important topic.
You think of PTSD.
Yeah.
When PTSD got made big, it was mainly for veterans. That is where it mainly stemmed from. And over time, I have it. I have it from my childhood. I'm not a veteran at all. But you're right. It makes it more relatable for everybody. I could not to a veteran today. I may not know what they went to overseas, but I can relate to the nightmares and the night sweats and to be on an edge when you hear a branch break or whatever the issue is. It makes it to almost where you can relate with anybody. If you take the time to get to know someone, you got to have a real connection. And part of the problem is this thing right here. 90% of the time, people do this. If you're one of them people, put it down, engage in your community. You can't be part of the movement if you're in this 24/7.
Absolutely.
And as a parent, my advice for you parents, single parents especially, do the best you can to engage. It's okay to take them moments to yourself. Your mental health needs that. Trust me. My 3-year-old knows when daddy needs a timeout that she has to go play in her room for a few minutes. So you got to find your systems, your boundaries, we'll call it.
Yeah.
You got to know
good.
your boundaries. With your podcast, your boundaries is that you're not going to let this person and that person come on and these topics aren't going to be talked about. I have, our boundaries kind of line up in that. My boundaries is I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. And you need to know that's my boundaries. You don't need to know my why. And because my boundaries are my boundaries. Music is a great way of expressing that. When someone asks you why I don't drink, I think of the song, if I have had one, I've had 13. And it's true. That's why I can't drink. But you got to deal with them issues, and music helps you deal with those. Because if you're drinking for this reason, there's a song that will help you heal. And eventually that song's going to probably be played 1,000 times, but it's going to heal you and it's going to allow you to be a better version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Willie,
Willie,
well, buddy, I want to thank you for letting me come on the show today.
no, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you sharing your 10 songs with us and giving us some background. And I wish you the best with Soul Impact and these new projects that you got next year. I wish them the best. I'll make sure to share wherever I can to let people know how to find them. And I hope our paths stay in touch.
Oh, absolutely. And I look forward to having you on my show as well.
Love that. Thank you so much, Willie. Pretty vacant times.
Are you ready?
It suffers for his sports jacket.